Today our topic is circulatory system or vascular system. The center of the circulatory system is the heart. Heart pumps blood through two arteries, the aorta and the pulmonary artery. Through the aorta, the blood goes throughout the body, and this is known as the systemic circulation. And through the pulmonary artery, it goes to the lung, and here the lung, the blood is purified with the oxygen, and the carbon dioxide is delivered into the lung, and finally the blood returns to the heart through the pulmonary veins. This is known as the pulmonary circulation. The difference of the systemic circulation and the pulmonary circulation is that systemic circulation, the artery contains the oxygenated blood and the vein contains the deoxygenated blood, and in the pulmonary circulation, the artery contains the deoxygenated blood and the vein contains the oxygenated blood. This is the difference. And another difference is the pulmonary circulation, there is less pressure in this circulation, and the systemic circulation is the high pressure system of circulation. Throughout the circulation, the blood passes through the vessel, and if we see a vessel in cross section, we can see that it has some layers. In magnified view, we see that it is the inner side of the vessel. There is some epithelium, that is known as the endothelium, and some connective tissue under the endothelium, that is subendothelial connective tissue. This connective tissue and endothelium forms a coat, this inner coat or tunica intima. There is a muscular coat in the middle, that is the tunica media, and externally there is a coat, that is tunica externa or tunica adventitia. Generally, every vessel has these three coats. Here is the in cross section, you can see the epithelium. These epithelium or endothelium roll in to form a tube. Through this tube, the blood passes. This is the endothelium, subendothelial connective tissue. This is the tunica media and the tunica adventitia. This is general orientation of a blood vessel, but the vessels in different parts of the body has different formation. In this aorta, the large vessel where there is huge pressure, and this vessel has to elongate and has to dilate during this pressure. It has some modification in this middle coat. In the inner coat, where there is the intima, there is the endothelium and subendothelial tissue, and outside there is the subendothelial tissue. There is a internal elastic layer or internal elastic lamina in this vessel. And in the middle layer, where there is the tunica media, there are muscular layer. In the large arteries, the media is formed by the layer of muscles, that is more than 50 layers of muscles surround this tunica media. And in this large vessel, the muscle cell are interlinked or embedded with a huge amount of elastic tissue. And outside the elastic tissue there is an external elastic lamina, and this forms this vessel more elastic. That is why we can classify the arteries according to this content of the media into the elastic arteries, into the muscular arteries, and the arteriole. So these are the classification of the arteries. We can divide the artery into three forms. This is the elastic arteries, where there is more and more elastic tissues in the tunica media, and the muscular arteries, where there is more and more muscles. That means about 40 to 50 layers of about 40 layers of the muscle, smooth muscle around the vessel in the tunica media. That is the muscular artery. In the arteriole, there is 3 to 4 layer of the smooth muscle around the endothelial layer. This is the classification of the arteries. And finally, there is the vein. Vein has the 3 layers: the adventitia, media, and the intima. Interesting thing that the vein has a tiny layer of media. Throughout all the veins, it has the 3 layers. Venule has only endothelial and tunica externa. This is the venule. And capillary is the area where there is exchange occurs. The capillary has general orientation of the capillary has the endothelial layer outside. There is the endothelial layer, and the endothelial there is a basal lamina. basal lamina. This basal lamina is surrounded by the cell that is the pericyte, that is known as the pericyte. This is the general structure of the capillary, but there are some modification of the capillary. Some capillaries has like this general structure, the endothelium and the basement membrane and the pericyte. This is known as the continuous capillary. Into the muscle and anywhere of the body where is less exchange, there is the continuous capillary. And some capillary has some pores. We can see there is a pore, there is a pore. In the capillary wall, there are some pore. This pore is surrounded by a diaphragm. This is known as the fenestrated capillary. In the kidney and the intestine, this type of the capillary remains. And in the liver, there are more and more exchange occurs in the liver and the bone marrow. These type of the capillary known as the sinusoidal capillary. So if someone asks you what are the types of the capillaries, then you can mention these types: continuous capillary, fenestrated capillary and the sinusoidal capillaries. These are the capillaries. When these vessels ends in the termination, that means the anastomosis. One vessel meets with this another vessel, that is known as the anastomosis. In surgery, anastomosis is known as the artificial is the making bridge of two vessel ends. In surgery ward, you will hear such type of word that anastomosis. Anastomosis means the meeting the two end of luminal structure. This known as in surgery. This is known as the anastomosis. But in anatomy, the anastomosis means the communication of the vessel. The vessel means artery and the vein. There is general communication in the artery and vein with a capillary bed. This is the normal communication, normal anastomosis. Sometimes there is direct communication with the artery and the vein. Here is the vein, artery, and here is the vein. There is direct communication. That is arteriovenous anastomosis. That means known as shunt. And sometimes here we see a capillary bed. From this capillary bed, the venous system originate. This is normal anastomosis, but sometimes we see some form of the anastomosis that is different than this normal. In this type of anastomosis, we can see that here we can see this is a vein. This vein, we expect that this vein may have one capillary bed from where this vein may originate. But in this situation, there is a capillary bed and there is a capillary bed from where this vein originate. But finally, this vein terminates into the liver, forming another capillary bed. The vascular system, where there is two capillary beds, two capillary beds within its structure, is known as the portal system. Here it is the portal vein. The portal vein has a capillary system from where it originates and another capillary system where it terminates. And this is the venous portal system. This is the venous portal system. There are some portal system, that is arterial portal system. Here we can see this is the kidney. In the kidney, we see that there is a glomerulus where there is a anastomosis of the capillaries. That means arterial capillary, and there is another capillary in this tube, around this tube. This is arterial portal system. From this capillary system, there is originate of the venule. Here is the arteriole. From this arteriole, there is a capillary, and here is the Bowman's capsule. From this capillary, there is another capillary system from where there is the vein originate. This is the arterial portal system. There is another arterial portal system in the brain. We see that there is the hypophysis or the pituitary gland. Over the pituitary gland, there is hypothalamus. In this figure, we can see that this is the hypothalamus, this is the pituitary gland. In this system, there is a capillary system network and there is a capillary network. These two capillary network connects with each other and forming the hypothalamic hypophyseal portal system. This is another example of the arterial portal system. Finally, we want to talk something about the vascular supply of the blood vessel. This is a blood vessel. This vessel is supplied by a vessel. This vessel is known as the vasa vasorum. And sometimes there are some anastomosis within the artery. Normally, the artery has some anastomosis in this capillary end, before capillary end, if there is no anastomosis occur, that is known as the functional, that is known as the end arteries. Here is the artery, here is an artery, this artery ends in here, and here is another artery ends here.